The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
I'm a big fish in a small pond. Got my days free and my nights long. I create my own reality. Who I am is fine with me. As famous as I wanna be. Who I am is fine with me. To my end.
Hi everybody, it's Maria. What's the story with Maria? Welcome to episode 9 of our show with Maria every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And this is on Armed Radio, which you can get by hooking into your TuneIn app on your phone or your computer. And then you click on Armed, A-R-M-E-D Radio. And then you will, hold on one second, I got a little. Okay. Oh, closer to the mic. Okay. So anyway, then you'll have your Armed Radio, and you'll be able to hear us live. If you miss us live and you want to listen to us in podcast, then you go to your Spreaker app, Spreaker, Spreaker, and that is in podcast. That is really that's the way I love to listen to it too. We are also on Radio Garden Worldwide, and I just found out, Joe Ross told me, that it reaches 60 countries, 6 zeros. So this show goes all across the country and also 60 countries worldwide. So thank you, Radio Garden Worldwide. Okay, so tonight, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous because it's my first show with, I don't have any guests. And I'll tell you why. That was on purpose. What I do have is my friend Catherine Salvio, who was a guest on my show a few weeks ago. She was also an engineer for, video tech engineer for NBC. So she's my sidekick tonight. She's helping me with, I'm going to get a call in, and also I have a bunch of stuff going on. So, okay, tonight I would like to dedicate this show to the 9/11 responders, first responders, and also people that were there in the aftermath. I have lived in New York for almost 30 years. So on 9/11, 2001, I lived literally 10 blocks from there. I lived on Houston Street. If you know New York, you know that that's very close. So I lived on Houston Street, and I'll tell you about some, well, there's so much stuff. I mean, it's like so much to talk about. That's why. So the morning of 9/11, I was sleeping, and my Aunt Anna Cunell, she called, and she said, wake up, something's happening. And I didn't know, and she said, turn on your television. So I turned on the television, and I saw what everyone else saw. And while we were talking, the second plane came in. And it's amazing what happens to your brain in times of great stress. So my brain didn't realize that what I was looking at was literally 10 blocks from my house. It felt like, all right, I'm going to move the mic. Jimmy says I need to get closer. So what it felt like was that I literally was looking at a movie. You don't even know what you're looking at after a while. So anyway, what I did was I grabbed my video camera, because I used to video a lot of stuff back then, and I ran to the roof. And I went to the 6th floor, the roof, and I started videotaping it. And I saw smoke and all the other stuff that you see on these, these broadcasts. So I saw the smoke. And as I'm watching it, something said, you got to get out of there. So I got back in on the staircase, and I just walked down. And while I was walking down, I felt like a rumble. And then when I got back to my apartment, the television was still on, and there was no towers. It was just flat. So I ran back out, and this is still what's happening to your brain while these crazy things are happening. I ran back out with my camera, and I videotaped it from the street, which was now like just billows of smoke. And I thought, did somebody move this? Did somebody move those towers? I couldn't figure out what had happened. I just couldn't Nothing like this had ever happened. And never mind 10 blocks from your house. So that's what happened in the immediate. And as I was also up on the roof, I filmed down. I had the camera pointed down. My building was attached to a fire station, and I probably am getting this wrong, but I think it was ladder 6. I'm not sure, but I bent it down and I saw the firefighters driving out, and I remember thinking, "Oh, good, they're going to take care of this," not realizing the enormity of this thing. And down the line, after everything had happened, and I realized that like about 6 of them did not make it back. That's when I decided to write a song. Now this show is about the creative process, and it's a funny show. But tonight it's one of those nights where I just have to talk about. There's tons that are very, very sad, and what do you do with that? So what I did with it, because I didn't know what else to do with it, was that down the line, I wrote a song. I co-wrote a song with my friend Karen Cole, who's an amazing musician. And we co-wrote the song. It's called Amputated Skyline. Some of you have my CD and you have it. It's number 4. But I'm going to attempt to play it live. And while I play it live, I'm going to hold up the radio, the boombox to the speaker. I am also going to show you the lyrics on camera. So I hope this goes well. If it doesn't, you can go to my website, or you can go, it's also on my Facebook page. Okay, so this is called Amputated Skyline. It's for the first responders, and I hope that here's the lyrics. I'll hold it up, okay? Like soldiers that fight but not survive. We fight, and shadow go away. Would heal, will save the way we live that day. Your smoke never feel. Okay, so that's my song, Amputated Skyline. And I was watching, Michael Rizzo is out there, my friend Michael Rizzo. He was an EMT during that time, and he posted some amazing pictures. I have to tag you, Michael. I was trying to tag everybody I could think of, but he was an EMT during that time, and he posted some pictures that you just forget. That's why I wanted to do the show, and I want to always say, we have to keep saying, don't forget. We have to remember these people that were down there. So what I did was I called everybody that I could to just say, get out. You warn people. And my boss at the time, his name was Rick Henson, I called him and he said, listen, nobody can open today. You're the only one that can open. There's nobody can get down because I could walk to work. So I worked at a bar and I said, I will work under one condition. I will, okay, I'm closer to my, I will work under one condition, and that is that I can close if I feel like my life is in danger, because you don't know what's going to happen. So he said, don't worry about it. If that happens, just get out, just run out, leave the place open and run out. But I did. I don't, you just do the next right thing when you're in this crazy state of shock. So I went to the bar and I opened it, and it was, and my friends that were there that day, and I tagged them. So George Penny, people just started showing up. George Penny, Kerry Dunn, Rory Taggart, Scott Lyon, who's going to call in a little while, Chris Church, Michael Edwin Stewart. I'll think of more, but these were my friends that showed up. They just came. It was like kind of a place to go. So people came and showed up, and we just sat around and watched people were walking uptown, and they were covered in soot. And they just started coming in. I turned on all the televisions, and I started giving out water. And then if they ordered drinks, I just started giving them drinks. And I called my boss, and I said, don't be mad at me, but I don't have the heart to charge these people. I mean, I'll pay for it myself if I have to. And he said, no, of course not. That's silly. Don't charge anybody. And so we just gave things out. But it was so eerily quiet. Like you would have thought that we would have been full and people needing things. It was pin drop quiet. And people were just walking through the streets in shock, covered in white dust. And then some EMTs came in, and it was as if the city was literally holding its breath. And we also, where I worked, was about maybe 3 blocks from St. Vincent's Hospital. So we were waiting to hear, like ambulance or something, and it was nothing. You heard nothing. That's the eerie part about this. There was nothing to hear because there was no one coming in because people had perished. So that is what happened on that day in my life. So as freaked out as I was, I did what I had to do. Michael Isaacs was there. He was a piano player. He just walked. He walked literally 40 blocks to get there. Andrew Holmes was there. But it was nothing compared to the people that were down there, these first responders. And I want to shout out. So I have a piece of paper because I knew that I missed someone. So Michael Rizzo, I'm shouting out, EMT, first responders. Okay, so I'm going to read this. Hold on a second. I want to shout out to Lieutenant Carol Shinameo, and I just talked to her earlier, and she is now living in Arizona. She had retired then, but she wanted me to give a shout out to District 4, the Transit Police, of Becky Hyan. And she was a first responder. She was on site. She was 8 years in the military. She responded that day. She's still with us, thank God. But her friends that she wanted to mention who did not make it were Ray Flores, Moira Smith, they named a park after Moira, and Rob Roy. So also I want to give a shout out to my friend Captain Louis Ramirez. He's in Brooklyn. Thank you, Louis, for all your service. My friend Brendan Ryan, he's a captain in Manhattan. Thank you, Brendan. And he also plays the bagpipes. So that means that when you play the bagpipes, you play those funerals. And, I don't know how many funerals Brendan played, but thank you, Brendan. My friend, Sergeant Suzanne Murray, Sergeant Sue, we call her. She is now retired and she lives in Florida. She's in Utah right now, but I remember I called her and called her and called her and called her, and she wasn't answering because I thought, oh my God, I know she's going down there. And what she did that day was she was teaching, so she took all of the cadets and they went down there. And I was talking to her today, and she said, I'm reading all this stuff because I don't want to forget. She said that class, the graduating class of 2001 in July, was one of the best because they were put into a situation very early on that was under extreme circumstances. She said, and she never got to thank them, so she wanted me to thank them. So that's what I'm doing. And that's for Sergeant Sue, Sergeant Suzanne Murray. Okay, also, Lori Golden Mendez. She is my friend. She's an incredible dancer and has a dance school. Her husband, Eddie Mendez, is a firefighter. They're out in Jersey, so shout out to the firefighters. My friend, Lieutenant Ron Alvarez, he's retired as well. Inspector Michelle Went, I tagged Michelle. She was down there a lot, and I remember it's just this crazy stories that she told me. And so Michelle is now retired. She might be in Toronto still, living in Toronto. My friend Teresa McCarthy, she is a nurse, and she was down there right after her, and for a long time helping people. While people were cleaning up rubble, she was down there a long, long time. So shout out to all those wonderful people. And if I've forgotten anybody, maybe you can write in and Catherine can tell me. Also, I want to shout out our Senator, Kirsten Gillibrand. She was vital in passing the Zadroga Act. And what the Zadroga Act is an act that helps people that were down there that have medical problems so that they never lose their insurance, that they always have medical coverage. So that is very, very important. Okay, so this is a picture of me right before, like maybe, I don't know, maybe the summer of. So those are the Twin Towers. That's what they look like. Look how, that's 100 stories there. 200 stories. Think about that falling. That's crazy, right? So let me see, what do we got for time, Catherine? We got, all right, so Scott might be, so here's what I want to do. Our friend Scott's going to call in, and Catherine's going to call him. So we were down at that bar, and we just sat around. And I want to talk to Scott in particular because he was my. So let me put Scott. Hold on, Scott. I'm going to put you up to the mic. Thank you, Catherine. Okay. So and let me have your phone too, Cat, so I can talk to Scott. Okay. So let's see if this works. So this is talking to Scott Ryan. He's driving to. Hi, Scotty. So Scott and I were roommates for a long time. It was Scott was one of the best roommates I ever had because he's really clean and I'm not. My intentions are good, but Scott is like the kind of guy that cleans the bathroom with like Q-tips around the faucet, that kind of clean.
Yeah, me and D.
Yeah, you and D. So anyway, we were roommates for a long time. Then Scott moved to Brooklyn, and then that day, Scotty, you came in from Brooklyn, right? So why don't you tell us that?
I did. So, we all woke up kind of the same way to shock and a lot of calls. I was getting calls from people who would tell me what was happening. And, it's so weird. I turned on the news and was watching, and I couldn't figure out what was really happening. I just, I don't know, it was all total shock. The most random thing I did was I threw a tape in the VCR and started recording it because I knew it was something huge, and I knew it was something that was life-changing, and I don't know why I did that. I still have the tape,
wow.
And I hadn't been able to watch it until maybe a year ago. And watching the newscasters try and talk about what they didn't know what was happening, it's just so bizarre. And I just finally allowed myself to watch it and cry because it's just so horrible. Before I talk too much, I want to shout out to Frank Sweeney. He's a first responder, was a firefighter, and I'm good friends with him now in Florida.
Oh, great!
And the work that these first responders have had to do with surviving and being a survivor and survivor skills and moving on with life and still showing up to help people. It's just a tremendous amount of work. And so I give them all credit for, the pain and the struggle of, a lot of them lost everyone they knew. And I know he's done a tremendous amount of work, and I thank them for still going on.
And he said he lives in Lauderdale with you, in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, he lives in Fort Lauderdale. He's married. He has a son now, and he is actually a nurse in the hospital.
Oh, how cool.
Still giving.
All right, so shout out to Frank Sweeney. I tagged you, Scotty, so this is running on your page, and so maybe Frank will see it, and then you can share it on
I was
his
watching, but I was scared the call wasn't going to come through while I was watching, so I kind of half watched.
Yeah, that's all right.
Would be able to get this.
So now, Scott,
then I heard an announcement that because the trains were all stopped, and I somehow remember hearing an announcement that they were running into the city, and it was like a 15-minute window, or maybe a 30-minute window, and I ran to the train and jumped on and went in the city, which it seems nuts to maybe a lot of people, but I was so alone and so lonely, and I was out in the community. I went to every church. I pulled on every church door to try and be around people, and none of them were open. And I said, I got to go be around my friends. And so I think I came right to you and Denise and Alston.
Yeah, you did, and I remember that because also
we went to the roof.
We went to the roof. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We went, and
we were wearing. Denise gave us masks to wear.
Yeah, because remember the air. The thing about the air quality was that it felt like shards of glass. We were like, you would touch your face and be like, "What is cutting my face?" And it was the air.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I just.
Well, I just remember that smell so strong, and it was for a long time. But
time. It was like a metallic burnt.
Construction, I'll smell it.
And one of the things that people didn't, I didn't think of it at the time, but then someone mentioned to me later, because we also had a friend that was a demolition guy, and he worked down there in the aftermath, cleaning things up, he and his company, and he said that what people didn't realize is that when the explosions happened, everyone had a computer. So it was all screens. Back then it was those big computers. It wasn't like the flat screens we have now, and the shards of glass were those computers blowing up. So that's what was in the air that you could feel, So we were up on the roof and we were looking down, and I would say within hours, the militia had taken over our street. So it was like all kinds of like army trucks and all kinds of like things I never saw in my life. There was
ever or not that you would expect in New York, and then I just remember for weeks after the no cars. And
talk a little louder, son. Just a little louder. So for no cars, right? No cars going down the streets. But people,
nothing.
Do you remember
and
people
walking like in a stream? And then sirens, like nothing but sirens and silence. Sirens and silence.
Silence and silence, yeah. People weren't talking. Nobody was talking to each other. What did you have to say? I think it was a collective feeling of being in shock. Just a collective feeling.
Totally. The vacancy in everyone's eyes, the fear and vacancy, and I have total gratitude for our little group that gathered at the bar, because I was so alone, and even though we were around each other, I still felt alone, because it's just it's terrifying. You kind of go inward of like what's happening. Your mind almost protects itself into some place.
I think that's a really important statement. Your mind, that's what I forget what it's called, like post-traumatic stress syndrome. What it is that your brain takes in an image or a situation and literally freezes it, and then releases it a little at a time over whatever time you need, so that you are able to process it. Because if you were to take in the entire situation all at once, you would be overwhelmed. So
absolutely, and that's why I haven't even been able to. I really wasn't able to watch or read or even talk about it much for years. And now I still get upset, like because we started talking about it earlier today. I was reading an article, and it just was so triggering of that memory because it's so strong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good word, triggering. You're right. That's exactly what happens. So anyway, now you're going to drive back to Florida tonight. So you
Oh God.
live in Fort Lauderdale, right? And so this hurricane came.
I do. I'm an evacuee.
Oh boy. So you're an evacuee, and now you're driving back. You were in Georgia, and now you are driving back.
Correct.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
I don't want to take you off subject, but it was
but
a little scary. We got out and briefly, all my friends were okay. Everybody, a little damage here and there, but no loss of life, and everyone's going to move on. It's just going to take some while to clean up. That's all.
okay, honey. Well, I love you, and I will. I mean, I always love talking to you anyway, but on yesterday, we are always connected, forever connected.
I know.
On this
I know,
day.
and I love it because Rory. It's either Rory, almost always Rory starts it, and then Rory and you and George, Michael Isaacs, and all our little gang that was sitting there glued to the TV. And another thing I always remember is we were supposed to be open, and I guess even though we were banned by the city to be open, we opened because our boss made us, and we didn't charge anyone for forever.
I know that's what I was just talking about.
We charged
I just put everything on the comp check, and I told him, I said I can't charge people, and he was actually really cool about it. He said, no, that's okay. I couldn't do it. I mean, but yes, Rory Taggart. A shout out to Rory Taggart. He's up in Canada. He was Canadian, and he eventually moved back here. And we miss you, Rory. And so George Penny, Rory Taggart, Chris Church, Andrew Holmes, Michael Isaacs,
right.
Susie Campanero, Michael Edwin Stewart. So for Carrie Dunn, forever we are bound because of that day, and we always will be. So I love you guys, and I hope everybody's well. And Scotty, text me when you get home, okay? Or
will do. Love you. Thanks for letting me call in.
Yeah, when you come to New York, I'll have you on the show because Scotty's also a comedian. He's really actually a funny guy. Today was a serious day, but he's a funny guy. Yes, and we'll talk about that when he comes to New York and visits. Okay, I love you, buddy. All right. Bye, honey. Thank you, Catherine. Okay. Yeah, Catherine helped me out with that. Thank you so much. So I hope that came through one way or another. So, you need me? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so now let's go to, this is what I want to talk about. So out of great, okay, hold on a second. Jimmy is poking me here. So what do we got, Jimmy? Oh, no. Okay, closer. Okay. So today I'm not loud for some reason. Usually I'm very loud. That's not a problem. All right. So what I did creatively to deal with it was write a song, and you heard that. And if you guys ever want to listen to my music, you can go on my website. I have both my albums, and you can listen to it there. Also, I think that thing is on YouTube, and it's also on iTunes. So if you want to listen to that, you're welcome to. Now, what I need to show you is, I'll tell you a quick story. Do you need me? No. Oh. You do? Okay, come and tell it quickly. All right, so Judy has joined us because she was in class tonight. She's going back for her MBA. And grab a chair, honey. All right, so Judy has a great story about, go ahead, tell us, honey.
Okay, so I went to class tonight, and I have economics for managers. I was late to class. I was a mess, and whatever. The professor was a dumb, nice guy. He's from India, and I am so emotional about immigrants lately, but I almost started crying. He started telling his story about 9/11. First, he told us his story about how hard it was for him to get a job because of the way he looks, he doesn't look. And he has all these degrees in India. He's a smart guy. And he said he was just so desperate, and he had such a good disposition, and he was laughing about it. And eventually, he met the owner of the company that gave him a job, and he got promoted 3 months later. And he was across the street from the building when he was working, and he was expressing like so much patriotism and how he felt and how he ran across the street to help.
To help. He ran across the street to help.
Right.
Okay, so he wasn't in the building, but he ran across the street to help.
He was working across the street and he ran across the street to help.
Oh, wow.
And actually like got some people out and said he missed the first tower falling on him by seconds.
Wow. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling us that, honey. All right, so, boy, who knew that she went to class tonight and heard that story? So Judy's going back for her MBA, and she's taking an accounting and then teaching 2 nights a week accounting. I would have a heart attack. That's too much for me. Anyway, so all these great stories. I mean, you meet people all the time in New York that have these just amazing stories, beautiful stories. Now, at the club that I worked at the time, and I was seeing them, but I had just read an article in the New York Times about this guy named Sean Egan. This is maybe a little while later, maybe a few weeks later. I read about Sean Egan. And Sean Egan was this guy from Ireland that worked for Waterford Crystal. And he took scraps that were left over, crystal scraps that were left over at the plant. And he created, it took him, I don't know how many hundreds of hours to do this. He recreated this image. I'm going to hold it up for my Facebook family. This is, it is a sad image, but this is Father Michael Judge. Father Michael Judge was the chaplain for the fire department at the time. He was very, very, very loved. And he was there, of course, when it happened, and he was killed. He was the first person killed. The number one name is Father Michael Judge. So Father Michael Judge, that's the image of these first responders rescuing or pulling him out of that. So Sean Egan was so moved by this that he created this Waterford crystal sculpture of that image that I just showed you, piece by piece by piece of discarded scraps. And it was so beautiful that he wanted to donate it to the fire department, one of the fire departments where Michael Judge was the chaplain. So he came to New York, and this article was about this guy, and I was really moved by this. So I was just thinking about it in my head, and then one night I was up at the microphone singing like I do, a couple nights a week, that's my job. And I was drawn to this guy sitting at a table. And I usually ask people where they're from. Hey, where are you guys from? And I welcome people from different places to the club. And this guy said, Ireland. And I said, what's your name? And he said, Sean. And all of a sudden I realized, and there was no picture in the paper. It was just they mentioned his name. I said, is your name Sean Egan? And he said, yeah, how did you know that? And I said, I don't know, but I know who you are. And we were instantly drawn to each other. And we have stayed friends since that day. And Sean lives in Ireland, and now he has his own company that Sean Egan, if you look up Sean Egan Crystal, he creates these beautiful works with crystal. So what he made for me, which I would like to share with you, is he came back the next year. He usually comes back around 9/11. He made me this. What it is a replica of my CD. Because he loved Amputated Skyline, and I gave him a bunch of copies to take with him to his friends. So he shared his art with me, and I shared my art with him. So this is a copy of my CD, and it's etched, That Which Is Real. That's the name of my CD, Maria Gentile. So he made me that. And then another year, he came back, and he made me a little thing with my name on it and where I worked. So thank you, Sean Egan. You are very, very loved, and we send you good thoughts. And what a beautiful, selfless thing to do, to create something. So that's talk about people creating things like that, So if people, let me see how much time we have. So, we did a commercial at the top. Yeah. So. Jimmy, thank you. I want to shout out to Jimmy, who is our producer and engineer, Jim Bell. He takes care of all our stuff, and he tells me when I'm not loud enough or all that stuff, which is funny because usually people don't tell me I'm not loud enough in my life, but sometimes on here I'm not. So thank you, Jimmy. He's been running the sound and all the stuff down at the radio station so that we can stay connected. And also, I want to remind you that we are on the TuneIn app. The show is called What's the Story with Maria, and the mission of the show is to absolutely promote. Promote my friends and what they're doing. Now, tonight, it's a little bit of a different show. So we got about 20 minutes left to our show. So if people want to call in tonight, the number that we're using for calling is 917-325-0900. If you would like to call in tonight, you are welcome to do that and talk about, what we were just talking about, or if you just like the show and you want to talk to us about that, feel free to do that. We'll be taking calls for the next few minutes. Also, everybody does different things in time of great stress. And of course, what do you think I did in those days that followed? I ate. How'd you know that? But exactly. So what I did was I literally, after I kind of settled, like the next day, I ran to the supermarket. Everybody ran to the supermarket, and we just started buying up stuff. And what I did is I literally I think I made 50 meatballs. 50 meatballs. That was what I made. 50 meatballs, sausage and pepper. I made lasagna. I think I made a turkey too. I mean, it was like crazy amounts of food. And then, as I was telling you, Sergeant Sue, who was still missing in action, I couldn't find Sergeant Sue. We kept calling her and calling her. And finally, on September 14th, I heard that from Sergeant Sue, that she was okay, and that she and her cadets had done all this work down there. I mean, I can't tell you the kind of work they did because it's the saddest kind of work. But those people should never, ever, ever be forgotten. So that class of 2001 in July, the graduating class, Sergeant Suzanne Murray wanted to thank you again. And so we finally got a hold of Sergeant Sue, and we decided to have just everybody over to eat. And that's what we did. We had people over to eat, and we sat around and just sat together and ate. And I will never forget, I wish I could have found this picture, but Sue, I don't even know if you remember, but you literally were on the couch, and you just fell asleep sitting down. And at the time, we had a little kitten, and the kitten fell asleep on it. And the image of this sergeant who had worked for like 4 days straight, doing just the most ungodly work, and then to be sitting there with this little kitten was just the most beautiful image. And what I thought was, there's still life. There's life here. And so people that did remain and worked and survived in that time and stayed in New York, because a lot of people left New York. And you would see these images for like weeks of people just, because remember the cars weren't going on the street, so people just rolling their suitcases down the street with their suitcases like, I'm out of here. I gotta get the hell out of here. And that's what a lot of people did. And then another thing that happened, which was really like beautiful and sad at the same time, was that people lined down the West Side Highway, which is the main road that goes to the World Trade Center. A bunch of us lined up with signs because the first responders were going, and I mean people that were the cleanup crew, the nurses and the cleanup crew and the construction workers. Shout out to all those people. Oh my God. The cleanup crew was going, they were driving in and out and working for like 12, 14, 16 hours a day. So a bunch of us in the city got there and wrote signs that said, God bless America, or we love you, and things like that. And we had food, we brought cookies, and we brought all kinds of stuff. And we stood on each side of the West Side Highway, and that's how we helped. So everybody was helping in some ways, and I saw like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of motorcyclists and caravans coming down from other cities to help. People were coming from all over the country and probably all over the world to help. It was just the most amazing feeling of the world being a community, you know. And let me check what you was telling me here. Okay, closer step. All right. So it was the most amazing situation where it was the saddest day of our lives, and out of it also came the most beautiful exchanges with other human beings, most of them strangers. And how does that happen? How do you go from the hardest thing to your heart beating faster and faster because you can't believe the experiences you're having? I mean, people were hugging each other in the streets that had never met and would never see each other again. And that is a real true testament to not just New York, but the United States and the world. And you know what one of my friends said? She said, look, we fight with each other until somebody comes at us. And then all of a sudden we're fighting them. And she said, and if aliens had landed, all of a sudden planet Earth would be fighting the aliens. And she was 100% right. That's exactly how it is. So maybe today we can just take a minute and think about, I know we're very divided on a lot of issues, but if we can remember September 11th and how we were so united, we have to remember that. And, you know, I think when they say that people, Catherine, do you remember the statistic on how many countries, or Judy, how many countries were represented in those towers? I think I heard 181 or something. So there were people in those towers from all over the world. So the world was affected. And we have to remember that when we want to divide, that there was something that happened that we were all connected to and we will eternally be connected to, you know? So that's just something that I always try to remember. And we didn't have music in the club I worked at for about, I'm going to say I don't know, 2 or 3 days. It was like a Tuesday that it happened. And I think it wasn't until Friday that they started playing music because no one knew what to do. What do we do? Are we supposed to play? Do we not play? Is it disrespectful to play? Should we, things like that. So, but I remember on the Friday night, and I was working that Friday, the piano player started to play a little bit. And then all of a sudden, this rush, maybe 12 gay boys came flying in. And they were and I thought to myself, stop, why are you doing that? Why are you twirling around and being festive? And all of a sudden, one of them came up and said, we're from Oregon, and we were listening to the news, and your mayor said that we should come to New York City and spend money, and that's what we're doing. And I thought, that's right, that's what they're doing, stop judging. You know, in that moment I judged, but then I realized that they were trying to support us by continuing to party and have fun, and that's what New York is. It's where you go to have fun. So I want to thank those little gay boys that twirled in from Oregon and said, we're here to spend money, and they spent a lot of money. And then a group of 6 came in after that and said, we're from Chicago, and we were listening to the news, and they said to come to New York and spend money. And you got to remember, nobody was flying back then. Nobody wanted to fly. That was the fear. The airlines were frozen. And so the fact that people had started to fly again and come back was a really great thing, you know. And Catherine, you worked for NBC at the time, right? So you were really busy. Come here. So I know she didn't want to be on camera tonight, but I'm bringing you on camera for a little bit because you had a very big part in the story as well. And you really helped me out tonight, Catherine. So thank you so very much. So come and grab, sit on this stool. All right, so Catherine Salvio, my friend, you know, and she always helps me.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Catherine.
Which mic?
Doesn't matter. This is the Facebook Live mic, and this is it doesn't matter. Use this one because that's the one using that.
Well, I came back from a year of living in Tuscany, and my first day back at NBC was 9/11. And yeah, I had been sitting on the ground in Times Square a couple of days before. It was Broadway on Broadway, and I was sitting on the street, and the people from Broadway musicals were performing. And I was so happy to be back in my city. And then my first day back at work was 9/11. And first, I was lying on my terrace taking sun, and my girlfriend called me and said, "Do you know what's going on?" And I said, "No, I just hear a lot of sirens." And I lived on 49th Street, which is quite a distance from ground zero. And anyway, I went to work. Everybody else was leaving, and I said to my boss when I got through to him that I would work because everything was grounded and nothing else was going to happen. I went in and I saw all the video that nobody was seeing yet about the people falling, jumping off the buildings, and it was such a shock. Not only, I mean, it would have been a shock whether I just come back from a quiet little hill town in Tuscany or if I didn't, but it was such a shock. So I stayed for 13 hours, but at one point I said to my boss, I have to leave and go to church. I just had to go to church. But being who I am, I stopped at a bar and got a cosmopolitan before church, and I stayed there. And then at 1:00 in the morning, my boss walked me home because the streets were deserted. There was no taxis. There was nothing. It was so amazing, and
it was just the eeriest day that I can ever remember in my life. Just an eerie day.
We had covered so many stories, I remember when I first started, it was Reagan got shot, and different things that happened, but this was like no other. Yeah, it was just me. I mean, everybody else had left.
And how many years did you work in news?
Well, I worked in all different areas. I worked in the on-air department, so it was anything that was on the air. So,
and you were videotech, right?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was like no other experience. I'll never forget it. And I can't believe I can't believe it's been so many years already. It seems just like yesterday. I mean, yesterday was the kind of day it was that day too. Blue sky.
Beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful days you could ever remember, right? Mm-hmm. So let's get some shout outs. Thank you so much to Catherine for helping me out. You don't have to. You can stay if you want. All right. Oh, go back to the She's been watching. She's been great. And Judy joined us. Thank you. So now let me see. Let's try to give some shout outs as we're winding down. Ron Alvarez says, Carol Brooklyn says, hi, Ron Alvarez. I met Ron at a very different time than Carol, but I said, I know a lieutenant. And he's like, I know that lieutenant. So it's so funny, like it's such a small community, the NYPD. Carol was in transit. She was in transit police. So you have your transit police, you have your NYPD, you have your Port Authority police down there. You have your firefighters, you have your EMTs. You have your nurses. There were doctors running down there, people from all over. So shout out to all those people. And the people that tune in every week, I want to thank you. Tonight I didn't give too many shout outs out because I really just wanted to focus on our kind of reporting almost, like a human interest story. We'll go back to our comedy and entertainment next week. And the next week I have Scott Evan Davis, who is an incredible songwriter, and he is on the cusp of something like so big. And I'll have him tell you about that next week. So he's just amazing things are happening for him and right around the corner. And also Michael Raymer, who is a photographer and filmmaker. Michael Raymer is also Susan Campanella's fiance. So if you don't know him, go to Susan Campanella's page and friend Michael. You will not, Ramer, Michael Raymer. You will not believe his photographs. They are just beautiful, and you'll love him. So he's going to be here next week. He's a little bit of a quiet guy, but we'll get him to talk. And Susie will probably be sitting in the wings. You know how Susie is. She's fun. So we're going to have them on next week. And we want to remind you again that if you want to, I love that you're on Facebook Live with us every week. This makes my day. It's my favorite hour of the week. I can't wait. I get so nervous before it starts, and then I'm so happy I'm here. And Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, your TuneIn app. Then you want to just type in on radio, click on your on radio. That's a picture of a blonde girl with red lipstick, and that is what we come through live on. and you can listen to that as it's happening. There's a lot of great shows on that. You should listen to a lot of the shows. I mean, just take a listen. On radio's great. And then we come through on Radio Garden Worldwide, and that reaches 60 countries. That's what Joe Walks told me. That is really impressive. I was not, I had no idea. So I'm glad that I know that now. And so we shout out to those people. I know our friend Joe Simmons listens to us in London every week, and we thank you, Joe. So if there's people from other countries that want to, please, email us and let us know that you're liking the show. You can reach me on Facebook. You can message me. I would love to hear from you. And also then Spreaker, which I love, love, love. Spreaker is a podcast that you can listen to the show usually about between 12 and 24 hours later. You type in "What's the Story with Korea" once you get to Spreaker, and it will come up and then save it. So Michael Rizzo, my friend Michael Rizzo, was coming in, and he was an EMT, and he says that we were walking around Ground Zero that night. It was so eerie, knee deep in dust and fluffy brown stuff that was like cotton candy. Wow. I guess that was stuff from the buildings, right? I mean, I wish I could talk to Michael. I wish, Michael, do you have that number to call in? Yeah. Give me that number again, Kathy. 917. Michael, if you can hear me, call in. 917-325-0900. If you can, I mean, we have about 5 minutes left, but if you can call in, Michael, and you could maybe tell us a little bit. So Jeffrey Campbell has joined us, and he said it was great to hear Scotty. Yes, we love Scott. He's wonderful. Is Michael calling? Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we have Michael Rizzo. This is so great. All right. Michael, can you hear me?
Hello?
Michael, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little low.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to bring, stay right there, Michael. Okay, I'm going to bring the speaker up to this. All right, so Michael, you said that you were down there that day, right? Right away? Did you go down right away, or?
I think our hospital was called in probably at noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was there, but we set up a temporary hospital in Chelsea Piers, and it was one paramedic, one nurse, one doctor with a table, and all equipment to do surgeries if needed, and
surgeries on the spot.
And there was probably 25, 30 of these tables all set up.
Oh, my
and
God.
There we are all waiting with gowns and masks and gloves on, thinking we were going to have all these hundreds of patients coming in to take care of. And nobody ever showed up. There was nobody.
Oh, see, that's what gives me chills. Dead. Because that was what I was talking about with the hospital, being so close to the hospital, and not seeing anyone come in. You're thinking,
right?
Where are the patients?
Right, horrible.
Horrible.
And then later on that day, we were transferred down to the ferry terminal.
Okay.
Down on Ferry Street.
Yeah.
So we were down there for a couple of hours, and the only other people we treated there were a couple of firefighters that had some trouble breathing from all the dust.
Wow.
And then later on that evening, probably about 3 or 4 in the morning, myself and the 3 people I was with, we made our way down to, Ground Zero, right in front of the old Brooks Brothers store that was there, and right on Church Street, that corner. And those were those pictures that I had on Facebook earlier today.
Unbelievable. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, and that's the picture that always haunts me. And for your listeners, it's a picture of a side of one of the New York City Fire Department trucks with the side door open, and there's a pair of shiny black shoes sitting there amongst all that dust and rubble. And I kept thinking that some fireman took those shoes off that he wore probably in the firehouse, slipped on his fire boots, and went into that building and never returned. And I've always wondered whose
those shoes belong to.
That those shoes, matched him. It's just heartbreaking.
Oh, my God. It's like, and today we were talking, every one of those numbers that you see had a story and a life and memories. And, that's why it's very important. I mean, you and I always talk about it, of course, but we really, when you say never forget, it's not just a slogan. It is not to be taken lightly. And as the years go on, people will forget because they weren't around or other things take over. You know, so I wanted to thank you for calling in, and I also want to shout out to my friend Ray. He's a police officer. I want to say his name right. Hold on a second, because I don't want to get it wrong. Ray is hold on. It's Irizarry. Ray Martinez Irizarry. He is my friend, and he's a young guy. And what impresses me about, he graduated in 2011 from the academy, and I asked him today how old he was when this happened, and he was 14. And I said, is that part of what made you want to go into it? And well, I think we're just going to sign off soon. But Ray, thank you for not being afraid and going in. And a shout out to AJ in heaven, who was his friend and our friend that signed him up to take the police test. And now Ray is a police officer in New York City, and we love him. And so thank you, everybody. Michael Rizzo, Scott Ryan, Catherine Salvio, Judy Mesa, everybody that came out tonight, everybody that checked in. Thank you, Jimmy. Don't ever forget 9/11. Let's keep that in our hearts. And if you want to listen to the song, that I have it on my Facebook page as well, if you want to click onto that. Thank you, everybody. Please come back next week. We love you and appreciate you. And that's our show for this week. Thank you. God bless us, one and all.